True gas station horror story.
One night last summer, two of my friends, Sam and Jake, convinced me to sneak out with them and drink. We were all bored, just looking for something to do.
I
We decided to go for a walk to a local gas station that was open 24 hours a day. The walk there was pretty uneventful. We talked about
Why are you walking to a gas station? First of all, you know, like who goes, "Oi boys, let's go up to the gas station, yeah." Heard there's some things up there, bro.
a random topic.
Oh, turn it up. Sorry, bro.
Beers. Once we got to the gas station, Jake had to use the bathroom. When he was in the bathroom, there was a dirty, sketchy guy in there. Jake struck up a conversation with this guy. It was pretty normal, except when the guy asked why he was out so late and if he was by himself.
This guy.
Jake brushed it off as the guy was just trying to tell him to stay safe.
Yeah.
We bought some snacks and we noticed the guy following us around
Ew.
while he was talking to someone on his phone. We left soon after, and on the way back, we sat on the side of the road and talked for a while
Nika.
as we drank some more. It was pitch black by now because there are no street lights in the area. We saw a car coming down the road, which was no big deal. We sneak out pretty often and we've
Let's go.
never had any real problems. Cars usually just drive by. This time was different.
Sheesh.
The car spun around in the road and pulled up right next to us on the street, and two guys got out. We ditched the beers, got up, and sprinted down the street. Jake and I hid behind an RV, while Sam hopped a fence. The two men looked dirty, like they hadn't showered in days.
Dirty.
We watched the two guys for a little while, which is when we noticed that one of them had a gun in his hand.
Sheesh.
They looked in our direction for a few minutes before they got back into their car and drove off. Jake and I looked for Sam, but we couldn't find him, so we decided to head back home.
What?
We thought we had lost them, but on the way back we turned a corner, and those same guys were sitting in the car,
Oh
waiting
my
there.
God.
We ran through the alleyways and backyards until we lost them. Every few minutes, we saw the car driving slowly down a street or alleyway in the distance,
Llama Cafe, guys. Go visit there.
and we would hide. Eventually, we made it back, and Sam messaged to tell us that he got followed by a different car, but he made it home safe. It's been almost a year since that night. We're
Oh.
always more cautious when we go out, and Sam still has nightmares about being abducted. I don't know for sure if the guy from the bathroom had anything to do with it, but we believe that he's somehow connected to it.
Yes, somehow connected to it. Not even gonna cap. That was quite trash. It was good, but like, they have better ones, I think. The Creature in the Forest, Disturbing Vacation Story 3, The Playhouse, Inhuman Entity, Sleep Paralysis Horror. Which one, bro? Out of these four? Yeah, they literally ditched it. They were like, so we couldn't find Sam, so we decided to go home. Like, bruh, that was kind of a little sussy. You could have got kidnapped and just died. And they would have been like,
We should never have done this. First, the creature in the forest. Llama sale! We've got big llamas, little llamas. What about medium-sized llamas? No, we don't have those. And llamas on hoodies, all 15% off until midnight on the 15th. The link is in the description. Now, back to the video.
so
My
forward.
parents were traveling for the weekend, as it was their anniversary, and to no surprise, they wanted to be alone. This meant that I had to take care and be in charge of my little brother, Oliver. Our home and neighborhood were
Oliver, bro. What is this dude? This guy looks like flipping mayonnaise. Bro. This guy looks like mayonnaise. I'm not even capping. Or like sour cream or something. He's literally sour cream and dried Pringles if they were made into a humanoid. Human horseradish.
were surrounded
Literally.
by woods, and Ollie liked ambling around the trail that was behind our house, but he couldn't go back there without permission. So naturally, since I was 18 and he was 10, I'd have to go with him for precautionary purposes.
10-year-old be like.
It was a little while before lunch, so I decided to join Ollie in his trek, so that way my appetite would be in a more salubrious state.
My appetite.
It was spring, and the leaves were meager and just starting to grow back onto the trees, which also meant I had to watch out for any sort of dangerous animals that could possibly lurk out and cause harm to any of us.
Wait, why are they going in the forest? Did I miss something? I was kind of like zoning out. Why did he want to go in the forest? Tell me why they wanted to go in the forest. Or is there no reason? They just wanted to go in the forest. Let's go over it.
Permission. Our home and that I had neighborhood were surrounded by woods,
Yeah.
and Ollie liked ambling around the trail that was behind our house. That was
He likes ambling.
It was a little while before lunch,
Wow.
so I decided to stay. It was spring, and the leaves were meager and just starting to grow back onto the trees, which also meant I had to watch out for any sort of dangerous animals that could possibly lurk out and
Dangerous
cause harm
animals?
to any of us. I could hear Ollie sniffing the air, and then him groaning at something.
Ew.
Something smells like shit, he said nasally, as he
It's you, mate. It's fucking you, mate. Oliver. It's you. Calm down, lad.
pinched his nostrils shut. Hey, watch your mouth, I retorted, surprised by the sudden curse. Just because Mom and Dad aren't here doesn't mean you're allowed to say whatever. I did, however, sniff the air.
This guy's 10
He was
years
right.
old.
There was
Something
a smell
smells
of
like
rotten
shit.
meat that permeated my nose. It was like roadkill.
Bruh, dead
I saw what
corpse.
looked like legs by a tree about several yards from us. Stay right there, okay? I instructed Ollie. He nodded in agreement while
What is this kid doing? This guy, bro.
keeping his hand on his nose. I leisurely walked
Baby
forward and
emoji.
turned the tree to see what the thing was. It was a deer, and it was dead all right. Flies droned and swarmed around it. I was used to seeing
Bruh,
dead animals
Look at that
around,
bite in the
Hunting
flip.
was
Like,
pretty
that's a big
frequent.
bite.
but there was something that rather took me aback. It was the fact that the way its neck had been ravaged into.
Yeah.
It was almost entirely gone. and
That's what I
down
did,
to
bro.
the bone. A bear would go down to the muscle and stop there. But to the bone?
Yeah.
This had to have been from something much more vicious. But
Yeah.
what? I looked back
The
to see
creature
if
in the
Ollie
forest.
had actually done what I urged him to. He did, but he was peering out to the woods. His eyes, so fixated, were filled with concern and his face unnerved. You okay, bud? I asked, noticing his expression. Something's out there, he murmured, as he continued to seem alarmed.
Something's out there.
I looked to see if he was kidding around. All that was in my view were the trees and brush. It might have been a deer or something. Don't worry so much. Come on, let's go back and get some lunch. And
Yeah.
so we did, just to reassure him. I made ourselves some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as we watched a movie.
Hey, hey!
Ollie usually
I've never had peanut butter and jam. No, peanut butter and jelly. But still, peanut butter and jam. What is that, bro? Like, that's a bit sus.
liked his sandwiches, and he'd been done with it in a few minutes, but he ate his so sluggishly. I didn't bother asking what he saw, because I
Sluggishly.
figured that he must have scared himself, and that he'd get over it in a
Look
while.
at this guy. Look at the way he's.
However, the back of my mind was still unsettled by that deer. How could its neck have been mutilated like that to such a grisly state?
Literally!
Night dawned upon both of us, and Ollie was begging me to let him sleep beside me as I put him to bed. What's gotten into you? I asked him. That thing's still out there. It was staring at me. It was dark and big. Bigger than you. I'm sure you just scared yourself. If anything was
Dark
out
and
there,
big.
it wasn't
I
anything.
think we know what he's talking about.
He continued to beg me, but I kept refusing. and told him to close his eyes and that he'd forget about it in the morning. I laid down in my bed, ready for a good rest.
What's gonna
I
come
like
to their
keeping my
house?
TV on just so I have a source of light in my room. I felt my eyes starting to sag and get heavy as I slowly felt myself growing drowsy. There was a sudden snap from outside. It sounded like a stick being splintered. I figured it was some animal, like another deer,
HD.
but what would be out at this time of night?
Yeah.
My
what would be
TV
out
was
at
still
this time
on,
of night?
so I decided to watch a little bit more, just so I could go back to sleep. Without even thinking, my gaze floated to the window, and my heart punched the inside of my chest. There was
Bruh.
something at the window. I couldn't see what it was, save for the eyes. They were milky and opaque, almost lifeless, but they were staring right through me.
Milky and opaque. Look at this guy, bro! That just looks like a weirdo. Ew. That is disgusting.
I tried to make it seem like I didn't see the figure outside,
Milky farts.
and just roll over onto my
And
stomach and
opaque.
pretend to be asleep to try and avert it. I then heard something against the glass. The thing was scratching my window.
Ta-ting.
The sound was piercing my ears and grated at my nerves. My chest started to feel
Sheesh.
full as my breath started to shorten. My window was starting to open, and I could hear that thing climbing into my room. Its presence was clearly
Bruh,
made,
ain't no
as
way.
its shadow covered my entire bed in black. I sat
Black.
there hyperventilating for what seemed like hours, until I felt the mattress start to sink in. The springs groaned as the thing had climbed onto the bed. I felt I
Ew.
could literally die from fright right there.
Die
The thing
from
started
fright.
to move across my bed. I was trying my best not to breathe so hard.
Look at this
but I was
man's chin.
completely terror-stricken. It then stopped and stood right at my shoulders. I felt its giant feet clasping onto my shoulder blades. I
Giant
could hardly
feet.
breathe. I had a
Ew.
mirror to my right that allowed me to see what was above me, and chills ran down my spine. The creature was black, large, and at
Black.
least 7 feet tall and lanky. Its arms went down to its calves. Its chest leaned over me and stretched to an impossible degree.
Ew.
It didn't even look human or animal. It seemed alien. I shut my eyes tight, hoping that it was just some dream.
Guys,
I could
is
start to
is
hear
that
the
the
creature's heavy
imposter?
breaths and growling. It sounded like a dog, but much more disturbing. As it grasped harder, I feared the worst. My ears were ringing. I wasn't breathing while I bit my tongue.
Describing Charlie
My
Freeman.
eyes were shut so tight.
I didn't say
and
that.
The blood flow in my head stopped almost
It
completely.
was on the chat.
Something then beckoned it off of me,
Okay.
and the creature leapt off. Through my ringing ears, I thought I could hear something like thumps and rusty hinges. I painfully felt the blood flow starting to come back, and I blacked out. Morning came, and I had a massive headache now,
Bruh,
and my chest
Look at
felt
this
so
dude.
tight.
When you're
I needed
depressed.
to go wake up
at the
Ollie
age
and
of
make
14.
breakfast, and
I still see the shadows in my room.
I reluctantly did so. I went into his room but found his bed empty. I checked all of downstairs to check if he was there somewhere. Nothing. I then thought of the one place he could definitely be if he was hiding. I went outside and
Sure,
took to the
little
path in
boy.
the back of the woods. I walked some ways while trying to get over the pain
Ew.
in my head.
Ew.
Bare feet by the tree. Ollie!
Bro, look at this dude. Look at this dude's feet.
I said, exhausted and annoyed.
It's that flipping video of the girl with her 30 feet. This is literally her dead body.
In my
After
grimace.
I see that video and go, "Push, ish, 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 ish."
Come on, what are you...